Welcome to this week's Animators Journey Podcast episode. I have with me Indiana Wilson, who has been working in the visual effects industry for many years and is an ex-ILM talent manager and wore many hats there. And I want to thank you for spending some time with me on this podcast. Thanks for joining.
No worries. Hi.
Hello. Can you tell us a little bit about your backstory, how you got to work in the positions you've been in recently and what attracted you to them?
Oh, God. Okay. I'm going to shock you because there's no clear path.
Okay.
So I'm from London. When I was at uni, I studied anthropology and international development. Yeah, I know. No one actually knows that I did that. I've never used it. Great course, never used it. First job, the bar stuff. Everyone goes through the pub stage. I landed as a front of house in an accountancy firm. Picked up a great few tricks, learned a lot. Realised it was not for me. It's just not a career that I would ever get joy from. Kudos to those who do. Then left that after 2 years, and then I went into VIP events. So that was amazing. Got to work around Europe, working for high-profile people from the Berlin Film Festival to private birthday parties all over London and Europe. An amazing job. It is full on. You've got to be young, I think, to do that. And it was just a situation of it wasn't a good fit, and certain people I didn't enjoy working with. And then I had the lovely opportunity of working for a pre-production company called Cineco in Surrey, South London border, run by John and Dina, and they are amazing. And it was just before the pandemic. I was there for 2 years. I was in the film industry, but with like bookkeeper and studio manager and EA, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
How did you make that first connection to that?
Because it is a jump from events to film. I know Joseph Bennett, who is a set designer, and he's a friend of my mother's, and I'd never really gone down the route of people avoid going, hey, Mom, can you help me get a job? They always avoid it because I want to do it on my own. I'm a teenager.
Right.
No. And so I called him, and he was like, I know who's hiring. And it was John, South African dude. Literally, I adore that man. And that's literally how I got into it, is word of mouth. I had no training. I learned on the job. Things I don't really need to know, but I now know about different paints and where to get lots of wood if you're building a set for Bridgerton. And that's the kind of stuff we worked on, and it was really
awesome.
fun.
Yeah.
And then COVID was started to rear its head, and obviously pre-production set, it all crumbled. I had to leave that job. I think I was unemployed for about a month. Ugh. And I applied to ILM, and this is one thing that ILM are bloody good at. I applied for a talent coordinator role, and there were 3 interviews, but by the second interview, they had decided I was overqualified and decided to bring me in as a talent manager, associate talent manager. It's like a kind of interim, let's test you out thing. And that was amazing because they could have just gone, hey, we can get a lot out of her and pay her less in a lesser role. But they didn't. And from the get-go, they were like, you're overqualified, but we like you. How about just above that?
Amazing.
And that was it.
How do you think they made that determination in those first 2 interviews? Was it kind of giving anecdotes about your experience in these other roles, or?
Yeah, I think I was just one of those people that I jumped around in so many different areas and managed so many different things that I had a hat and like a little finger in each pot that would assume a talent manager for them. I don't know, but that's what I would assume.
Yeah.
And that was something that really shone a light on me. I was like, oh wow, these people they're really cool. They're really cool. And that's what it is. I didn't set out, and I'm quite lucky because I know people work their asses off to get where they are. And I felt really bad because I fell into it. But then again, it gives me hope now that if I deter away from the industry, there is a way back in.
Yeah.
So, long answer, but
that's great. Yeah. And so how we connected was I saw your post on LinkedIn offering to help review people's CVs, and which is incredibly generous of you to do. And if you've begun reviewing them, or obviously that was part of your role, what kinds of things, I'm sure this is like a very broad question and you could probably talk about for a long time, but what are the most egregious things that people have been doing that they should stop doing immediately on CVs or in their applications?
I think there's a few things. They had recruiters, so they would go through the first haul, and then once they've been scanned and screened, then they would land on my desk with the soups and leads or whoever was in the hiring team. I think just from even when I was doing pre-production, but even now, I think it's little things that can set you off course. The layout is wrong. If your font changes halfway through, spelling and grammar, they're little things, and it won't give you a red cross over it, but it will be there in the back of someone's mind.
Yeah.
Don't put your home address on. Don't put your sex, your age. Most companies now ask you not to do that now, so they can help with their diversity inclusion policies, which I think is a great way of doing it. Obviously, contact information, email, phone number, website, easy. If you don't have a website, build one.
And is the expectation that your website would have your reel on it, or the reel would be a separate link, do you think?
The reel can be a separate link. I think if there's too many ways around your information is, people can get lost, and they won't spend that much time looking at it.
Yeah.
So if you've got a CV, I saw a great. So with this offer I've handed out, I've already assessed 3 in which they've sent me. We've had a little chat, and then I've gone away, and I put together a little package of my notes, and then I send that to them before the weekend. Said, look, take a look, and we've got calls scheduled for Monday, Tuesday, just the first 3. And there was this one, and he'd matched his reel, like the colours, the front page with all his info, to his CV. And that just stood out because it just looked like a whole package, and got a design team, and it was beautiful, and I
Very
loved
thoughtful.
it. Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff that stands out, because the truth is CVs are important, your reel is more important, and you can have more than one. And I would always recommend to have a different reel for the different type of studio, i.e. if you're going for Blue Zoo, they're going to want a different type of work demonstrated. The stuff you submit to Blue Zoo, you wouldn't submit to ILM.
And for people listening, Blue Zoo is a TV child's programming kind of animation studio. Yeah,
exactly. I think always go through what those studios have done, and it can be a lot of work, but once you have your 4 basic foundation ones, you're fine. Oh, and please, if you're going to put a password on your reel, share the password. That's a big one. But those are the kind of little things that build up.
Yeah, and I've heard people say that before, and then in a hiring process I've been involved with, amazingly, I would say it's maybe 30% of the time, either the link is wrong or there is no path. There's something that doesn't allow us to get through to watch the thing.
You've got to have an account.
You gotta have an account. It's not. Yeah, this is. I think people may not realize because they're always logged in on their own Vimeo page. And I commented to someone on LinkedIn sharing a reel. I clicked the link and it says you must log in to watch because it's not rated. Vimeo's just started doing this new thing.
Yeah, it's been around for about a few years. Yeah, if it's not a rated video, they basically they're saying we don't know what is in this, so we're going to protect you.
Mature audiences or who knows what, so you can't watch it at all unless you're logged in. Yeah, I get that.
Valid.
I don't remember Vimeo ever sending out an announcement like, hey guys, you're going to want to, all your videos, or no one's going to be able to watch it unless they're logged in, which is, depending on who's watching, it could be just the right amount of friction that they don't watch your reel at the end of the day. And they're like, I only had a few minutes. I don't have time to log in.
That's literally what it is, because obviously they're doing they want to give you the time. It's just in reality, they don't. Bar the recruiters, they don't. And you have about 2 minutes for them to go, ooh. You don't need, oh my God, I need them. You want an ooh, so that there's intrigue for them to want to call you. I always prefer it when it's YouTube.
Okay.
Because
there's no
everyone has YouTube. Yeah. It's on every phone. You don't have to have a login. You don't have
the ads don't bother you if you get hit with an ad, I guess, beforehand. Is that
yes, those are those, and then you're sitting in the room going, oh, just wait, because it can look sloppy when you haven't given your password over or your title on your Vimeo. I gave this feedback recently to someone, is all lowercase and it's just show reel. And it's like, why don't you put your name in, because your username on your Vimeo account is
doesn't match or
doesn't
whatever.
match. So put your name, put the year, version 1, 2, 3. use Vimeo as not just a, hey, I'm going to plop this here and send the link out. People have to go, they will look at the whole thing. And don't put your breakdowns in the comments section or the detail section. That doesn't get read. Put it in the thing, but we can talk about that later. But yeah, so I always say, if you're going to do a password, can the password out, rate it as well if it's all on Vimeo, or use another form of sharing it.
2 clarifying questions. You mentioned for the CV, wrong layout. Can you give an example of what a wrong layout would be in your eyes?
It's not so much there's a wrong layout, it's just
bad design, maybe.
Just bad design, where it looks like it's just been, when you can download as a text on your... It looks like it's been done for that, or, you know, LinkedIn now publishes them. There's just no thought, and it's just like, here is your name.
Yeah.
Here is a... just make it look nice. Don't go overboard. As fun as it can be, don't go overboard. You don't need your photo in there. Don't do that. It's not an ID. Just make it clean, make it cut. I have a template that I give out to others that it's clean, it's no fuss. Never have it more than 2 pages if you have to. If you want to have all that information, have a link to like your IMDb or your whatever, where there's a bigger variety of your history, or your LinkedIn. 100% put your LinkedIn on your CV. And also make the links where you put your email address on your thing, hyperlink those. Because even in PDF format, those work, because sometimes someone will be in a system and I'm like, okay, I want to email them, and I try and get their email from the thing, but I can't copy it.
Can't select it.
So if you make a hyperlink,
Yeah.
just literally, if you don't know how to do it, Google it, or I can tell you how to. But it is so easy, and it takes you a little bit further up.
The way I've been framing it to people, the students I've had and talked to, is this is how I've approached it. I'm looking for any chink in the armor, any opportunity that would give me insight into the thoughtfulness or lack thereof in a candidate, where they're in, depending on the project or role. It could be an animation in general is very attention to detail. So if we can't even get the link on the thing,
that's the thing.
It's like, how are we going to do very complicated things together?
That's the thing. And with animation, it's very... and I can't animate. I think I tried to for 2 seconds in front of the team, and they all giggled at me. I don't know how you guys do it. It's very impressive. And I'm not that tech savvy. But the role in itself is very technical. And if these simple hurdles are catching you off guard, you never know. Because the majority of people are sweethearts, and they are forgiving. But you never know if the person who's is gonna be on the desk in the morning is in a bad mood. They burnt their tongue on their coffee. They just got a really bad dailies wrapped up. You never know. Right. And it's the little things, like when you stub your toe, and that's it. The month of all the stuff you've gone through, the stubbing of the toes put you over the edge. It's just those little things, the minutiae, that can really set you apart.
Yeah.
But then also don't sweat it, because that's where your reel comes in.
Yeah. Which hopefully covers, people maybe forget the bad things on a CV if your reel can compensate.
They won't read the whole CV anyway. I can promise you that much. They'll literally see education and go, okay, cool, they're educated. They won't actually read where you've gone. And it's nothing against you. It's the time constraint. And also, education, cool, they went to uni. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. And I need to change my CV.
Send it over.
Because with mine, I made it however many years ago, and then I'm just updating it, and I haven't really gone through with a fine tooth comb, especially now that I've been involved in more hiring. And I know there's stuff I'm not doing the best on there. The one thing I will say I haven't done, which is a thing I recommend, I don't know how you feel about it, but the arbitrary skill bar thing, that I don't know when that became a fad, but like...
Skill bar?
A
skill bar. Yes.
I'll put like a bar of some length and then say Maya, and then it'll be like,
oh, don't do that.
5 sticks full. I'm like, what does that even mean? I don't know.
I saw that one. I saw one of those recently, and I completely get it. You're trying to spice it up. You're trying to be like,
graphically show something.
Don't, because they have a minute to go through it. And I saw one with pie charts, right? Which is, I love the concept. But I will start looking for the key to break down what this means.
Yeah.
If it,
what color does that relate to?
What does this mean? I have Maya and then a 50% thing. I appreciate it. Yeah. Don't. It also can sell you short without knowing. Because if it's like, if you've just dabbled in Unreal, great. Don't tell them you're just dabbling. Say just put it as just
conversation starter. Yeah.
Yes, because then it'll get you in the doors. Oh, they're aware of the new technologies coming out. If you go, I'm a Maya, but I've only been doing it at 20%, they'll be like, what have you been doing? So you never know. Just list, and to be honest with you, Google Suite, list Zoom, list Canva, list Workday. Every program, not just tech specific, it just helps.
Yeah.
But don't do email. That's just silly. Don't do that one.
That's super insightful. And it's opened my
Get
eyes.
rid of it.
Yeah. So beyond that stage, so if that's the first stage, I guess maybe to take a step back, because there's some people who have never worked in this industry, and maybe there's something specific to even just the hiring process, what to expect, how many interviews are, and it's different for everywhere, but what would the process be for a successful candidate? What would they have to actually go through to get hired?
It's such a varied thing. I had an interview, because obviously I'm working for work as well right now, but I had an interview process, which was 4 interviews, a 6-hour test, meeting the team with 2 interviews face-to-face with the team, and I still didn't get the job. That's insane.
Rough.
I
That's
think
rough.
from my experience at I-ILM, it's typically, depending on the role, is the main thing. But once recruitment have cleared, you would submit and apply online. Always apply online. That's the first thing. If you're gonna ping a recruiter, love it. Yes, 100%. Apply online. Actually do the link, because then that's a whole other section. I can give you tips on how to get into people's heads. That's a whole other section. But the process, I would suggest always expect around 2 interviews. It's always going to be the first person in the door, like the hiring manager, and then it's going to be the people that can make decisions afterwards. 2 or 3, I would say, is quite typical. If
Good.
you're going into
Yeah.
animation, they won't depending on where, they won't typically ask for a test. They will go on your reel. That's what they'll base it on. It's a trust game, essentially. That's why probations exist. That's
Right.
why they're a thing.
Yeah, I recently had a game company reach out, or headhunter, which is different for games, where it doesn't exist in VFX, where there's independent recruiting agencies that hire for gaming, but not for VFX.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
But there are ones cropping up. There's one, Motus, I've heard of.
Oh yeah,
Motus
that
is-
name rings a bell.
Yeah, and there are some aren't just for VFX, but I think I love the idea of agencies. I think it's quite a shame when people say no agencies, supply on your own, but that's a whole conversation.
Yeah. I had one reach out, and so it wasn't a job I was pursuing, but they reached out and said, would I be interested? And also there's a test, and different people may have different opinions about it. I'm not averse to, if there's something specific in my reel that they're not seeing, I'd love to discuss that, because maybe I have it, I just didn't know you wanted to see it, and it's in a different reel. But I think, the test thing is, I think for someone who's more senior, is a bit of a concern that their maybe skills can't be judged based on their current reel.
Yeah, I think the higher up you go, obviously there's going to be more scrutiny. I think don't run from people that ask for tests, because there might be a myriad of things. They might just not have changed the way they hire in 5 years.
Yeah, true.
They might know that they want to remove that aspect of recruitment. They just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Yeah.
Or maybe they've had really bad experiences before and they're protecting themselves. We never know, but always look at a test as an opportunity to question them. Be like, unless they've specified it completely, as you said, you may already have it. But ask questions. Don't turn your nose up. Do the best you can.
Yeah.
Don't kill yourself over it. And don't spend 12 hours on it, because nah.
So I did a test for Naughty Dog, and I was happy to do it because I really wanted to work there.
Yeah.
But they asked, I want to say they asked for 8 hours to do it. Because I think they were trying to measure because it was more of a technical test. I don't think I can get into the specifics of what the test
I know what
was.
you're getting at. Yeah.
But we want to make sure that you can do a thing with a tool and get enough of it done in what we would see a work day. And I think they could compare against other candidates. And I thought I didn't get as much done as I would have liked to have, but I got the gig. And I thought for sure, I talked to another buddy who ended up also getting hired, and we compared notes on like, how much did you get done? Because it was so much work in 8 hours, I could only get so much done. He was like, yeah, that's about how much I did too. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, as much as I have massive imposter syndrome, I'm a highly anxious person. I know sometimes it can't seem like it. I am very conscious, and I'm always like, oh my God, I'm overthinking. What if they don't like me? Blah, 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 blah. Try your best. I should listen to myself about this. Try your best to not overthink it.
Yeah.
and not over worry, because once you've done the test, once you've submitted your CV in Reel, there's nothing you can do. You can't keep banging on the door. You can, but just take a step back, go, I'm good. I've done this before. Trust in the process.
That was the one story I always tell, and I'm sure everyone has a similar kind of story. I really wanted to work at Sony, and it took, I think, 4 years. I applied every 6 months for 4 years, and the day before I got an interview, they said no. And then the day after, they said, "Oh, actually, we are like doing." I'm like, "Wait, what? Yeah."
See, that's like but hey, you could have told me before.
So yeah, and that worked out. But it was just to give people an idea of expectation of, and I think that's why I was asking about even for the process itself once it gets initiated, so people have an appetite for what it takes to get through to the finish line, if there is one for them in that role. Because sometimes people aren't prepared, I think, for that. Yeah.
I think what people don't know is, and I think it's quite similar in lots of studios, is your recruiter is your friend.
Right.
Like, they are the gate key holders to most people. But these guys, I've honestly, some of the hardest working people I know, and they care so much, and yet they have to deliver the bad news. They get to deliver great news, but they're the people that are seeing all these hopeful people and knowing that they can't make decisions. They have no control of this.
Right.
The first stage, it will land on their desk. They will do, what they will have is they will have a list from whoever's requested the hire. The work is, they need to have, if you're doing any sort of like dino show and they're looking for a senior, you gotta have some creature work in there. And that won't be on the job description typically.
Right. They can't divulge what's
they can't,
specific.
Exactly, it's very annoying, and we wish it was different, but
that's why variety on your reel is
variety, 100%.
Yeah.
Because you never know what's behind the request. Creature will be on there, for example, first off. They will be like variety. They have to have had, they typically don't do 2 projects, like in gaming, 2 published games. They don't typically have that, but they will want some evidence. The recruiter will have a list that they have to minimally get to, and that's the screening process. But also over time, depending on how long they've worked there or how close they are with the team, which ILM, they are amazing and they know literally everything. They will know flat out, even if they're screened, if this candidate's going to get the job or not. And they are very trusted in that position, and that's what they're good at. The next stage is it then gets sent over for review to whoever is hiring, whether it's the line manager, the soups, the leads, whoever's on that panel who are looking at that role. So the recruiter is don't get angry at the recruiter. Trust me. They wish they could do everything. They wish they could respond to all. I remember last year I posted one job opening, and I'm not the recruiter, and I had 1,000 DMs on LinkedIn within 2 days.
Oh my God.
And I did sit there for half a day doing my best to go through. And it got to the point where I had pre-made messages that I could alter just so they felt heard. But it is impossible. So you'll go through that screening process and then it will go from there. But also bear in mind, annoyingly, these things take time because the recruiter will have a look within a week or 2. Decision of the hiring panel, even after your first interview, they will have 4 other people they're interviewing or interested in the role, and then one of those people will go on holiday, and then another one won't be able to make it because of turnover, or something will happen, and getting those people in a room is very impossible. And that recruiter and that, like, they are trying, and they're trying to tell you we're trying to figure it out. Be patient. As bad as the situation is right now, be patient. Don't hound them.
Yeah.
If you get interviewed or you apply, give it at least 8 days. Not working
That's
days.
a specific number.
Because if you have an interview on a Monday and then
Yeah.
the next Monday you ping them,
Yeah.
it's been over a week.
Yeah, maybe that Monday is when they all meet, so at least give them that day again.
Give them at least a week.
Yeah.
8 days over. I think safe is always like the 14-day mark. Hey, still interested? Is this a possibility?
Yeah. I think how I approach it,
yeah.
I do the same, and I think how I try to approach it so they're aware of if there's a timing thing in case you're taking multiple interviews, just to let them know
Hi.
If you're if it's a timing related thing and trying not to just pester them.
There's
just
a doing that without saying, look,
Yeah.
I'm so important. I have
Oh, right,
another
yeah.
job. Because I've had
Yeah.
that. I've had that where it's really fine and I completely understood, like they've got kids and they're like, okay, I need to know because I've got things hanging in the balance here.
Yeah.
As lovely as the opportunity is, literally had people going, I have like in the interview telling me that they have 2 other offers on the table. And I'm like, good for you.
Good for
because
you.
You're probably going to need them at this point. I know what they were trying to do, and it just didn't go well.
Yeah.
It was not good.
There's there's a way to maybe say that's not off-putting.
There are ways. Yeah, it's all about how you say something, not what you say, I think.
Yeah, tone is very
Tone
important.
is paramount. Yeah.
I'm learning that more and more as I'm involved in interviews, that because there's so much subtlety there, and you're always to read into, because you only have such a short amount of time with someone if you're interviewing them, and you have to use everything there to gauge, because I can't spend or know this person.
Got to sell yourself, and I think one of the quickest ways to change the mood of an interview, which is very good, and I encourage everyone to do it. If you're nervous, especially if it's a gig you really want this job, but you are sweating buckets and you're like, oh my God, I look shiny. Is my mic going to work? Is there noise in the background? Everyone be quiet. If you're nervous, hi, my name's Indy. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous right now. Sorry. It will bring down their guard, because then they know, one, you care.
Yeah.
You just admitted to them that you're nervous. They go, oh, they really want it. They're not just like, it's another chat. No.
Yeah. Or like overcompensating for the nervousness and acting a bit off.
Because we don't know. Because when you're going, okay, hi, I could do this.
Yeah.
Okay, you just love yourself, which you should do, but not a good amount. But, and then, because I've had that, and then me and the panel have gone, oh, he was really egotistical, and others have gone, I think he was really nervous. And we can never agree because we don't know them. So I think a really good way, don't just say it, by the way. Don't use this to get a job, because we can tell if you're actually nervous.
People are just taking bullet points and be like, okay, say I'm nervous.
I'm nervous. How are you?
Yeah.
No, I'm hungry. What do you like? No,
Right.
like we can tell, but if you say it, then the elephant in the room's gone. And they go, they're nervous now. So this is not their whole self. This is not their best self. Mm-hmm. And they go, okay, one, you care, even though you probably always care anyway. Okay, you're a bit shaky right now. You're a bit over the top right now. But you know what? That's not the full you. There's clearly more to you. So if you're nervous, don't try to be brave. Just be yourself and let them know, because I can guarantee, I would put millions on this, that every single one of them has felt that way. Even whilst they're doing the job, they're going to meetings they're nervous about. So just tell them. There's no pride involved in interviews. Yeah. There's no space for pride in interviews. There you go. Done.
That's the soundbite for the...
Yeah.
No, that's super insightful. And I think it's something that looking back on interviews I've done, I know I could have done better for a multitude of reasons. I can get caught off guard. And that's how I think that my line of questioning is about trying to help prepare people to know what to expect, so that in the moment they're not swallowing their tongue or something and they've gotten off balance with things. So just being as prepared as possible going into it.
Yeah, there are definitely some basics that, I can guarantee you that no one will ever interview as bad as someone that I interviewed about 3 years ago. This is my horror story. I've told it a million times. I've never disclosed the name, and I never will, out of respect.
Sure. It's probably me. No, I'm just...
It's not. Imagine. No, you interview very well. No, so I can tell. But this one person, 3 years ago, I cannot remember if it was a lead or a senior. I cannot remember what the role was. And standard procedure, COVID, so we're all at home. So you're already on the back foot. He was sitting on a sofa. I can give you that, because you're working at home. You might not have a setup. Full tracksuit. Now, we're not in an industry where you need to wear a suit every day. But the fact that I can tell you're in a full
Things are
tracksuit,
starting to add up.
They were adding up. The fact you were in a full... I shouldn't know what's on your bottom half, but I did, because you were lying down on a couch, pillow behind your head. Clearly you were on an iPhone or an iPad. Nonchalant.
Was the angle like this too? And
literally. I was basically a dentist at that point.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh God, okay, let's give him a hope. But there's a moment you look at the other interviews going,
We're already in the hole. They got to dig this out.
ooh, what do we,
Yeah.
yeah, come on, man. I believe in you.
Yeah.
No, because then he pulled out a flask and took a swig of something. It could have been cough syrup. But I literally was like, I think I started giggling.
I would have thought, yeah, they were messing with me at that point. I'm like, is this
No,
a joke?
dead serious. And and they were so egotistical as well. So it was just tick for the bin. It was bad. That was a bad one. And there was another one.
Can you just wrap up the interview early when you're just like, all right, I think we got
We
everything
do.
need.
There's some times where you can tell where they're trying to get rid of you, but out of respect of their time and yours. So that was a few years ago. And then there was one about sometime last year. Again, I don't know the role. And they were great. They had the skills. Nothing wrong with them. Oh my God, did they talk. When they say, give us a bit of information about yourself.
Yeah.
Literally go, I did this job, I did this job, I did this job, I did this job, and I'm here. Where do you live? That's a good one. Just a little bio, like a Tinder swipey thingy, Bobby.
Yeah,
Just no photo. Just a little bio thing. I know where he went to school that he started school in 1997.
Okay.
And it got to a point where I knew everything about his life. And it clearly came from like either nervousness or some people, that's just how they communicate, and that's fine. You are going to bore them.
Yeah.
They don't care. Sorry.
No, 100%. Yeah.
So those are the two interviews that...
To that point, it reminds me of one I was in where the answer was short and sweet, but talking about the tone, you can tell that they'd been in a bunch of interviews and they've said their story many times over, and they were like bored to even tell their own story. So they're like, so we did this and blah, blah, blah. And
those
like,
happen.
Do you not
like yourself?
Yeah. So it just puts you on the back foot of, so is that just, I'm trying to now recalibrate.
Exactly. Because if someone's never met you before, you're really hanging on it.
Yeah.
And you've already got through the door. And that's huge because right now in the industry, that's a big deal. And I've sent over 300 applications at this point. And out of those, I've had acknowledgements and 10 interviews. And it's a knife. But even the acknowledgement email or that interview, even if you don't get the job, you're doing something right. So massive congrats.
Take the win. Yeah.
Take the win. I think before any important call, if you can, open the window or go outside and get fresh air, cold fresh air on your face and waken yourself up. Literally cold water on the face to just get okay, restart. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a book on economics or whatever that I read, and they're talking about judges giving parole or not to criminals. And after lunch, the rate of parole or whatever, the good version of whatever outcome, it just goes to the roof after they've eaten. So there's also something to making sure your blood sugar's in a good spot and all those kinds of things, like your fresh air. And
just do what you can, because if some people have kids or they're in a busy environment and they don't have the luxury of doing certain things to prepare, which most decent people will know. I think if you're starting an interview or going into an interview, there were some very basic things. Have a good connection, because the first time it breaks is cute and funny and modern first world problems. But after a while, it can get tedious. So turn off your Wi-Fi on your phone. Ask your housemates or your family to do the same. Sit as close to the router as you can if you're not directly plugged in. First off, have a good setup. You don't have to have high-tech stuff, but have headphones on so background noise is cut off. Center, so your workstation, right? My workstation, my screen is here. My laptop is here. For a call, turn the camera to you so you cannot your chair can't naturally drift. Body language is everything. If you're not holding eye contact and looking at me, or you're on your phone, which I've seen a million times, or working in the background. I've seen people working in the background of their interviews. I have called them up on it. Body language, be square, be in the box. I don't want to see this part, like when it's just your nose above. Like, I don't want that. You've got a great nose, but I need to see your mouth. It's those kind of basic things. You don't have to dress up, but there was one dude that I was so impressed with, because he had literally worn a whole suit remotely, and I was like, It's awesome. It gave him brownie points. I'm not saying go out and buy a suit. Don't wear a tracksuit. Just don't do that.
There's a threshold you need to meet. Yeah.
Yeah, and you might not have a secure space because you might have housemates, or you might be in a really small apartment and it's really awkward for you. But they're not going to hold that against you if you're giving them all of your attention.
For sure. I think that's a great point. And one of the not great interviews I was in, it was so hard. I was hoping they were going to turn towards camera at some point. They were off, almost profile.
It's that.
And I'm like, I can't. I'm having so hard to even. I think I'm even trying to just read your lips. I think I don't even realize how much I need to hear what you're saying and really take it in. I need to see what you're saying.
I zone out because I'm just praying, trying to send you mental waves.
Yeah, blinking Morse code. Please turn towards the
literally. I think if you haven't got, I'm on a laptop right now, so I have a camera built in, so I'm staring at you with the camera above. If you don't have that set up, guess what? Phone.
Yeah.
Have your calendar on your phone. Put your phone somewhere set up. Don't hold the phone. Jesus, don't do that. But then you know that when you're going to be staring at who you're talking to, they're going to be staring at you. Just be mindful of where your camera is and not what it's like in dailies, because that's a...
Wait, say that again, not what it's like in dailies?
So like when you're working, as you said, you've got a profile where the call's here on a different tab in the background, but you've got your screen here.
Yeah. You're watching dailies, so it's...
Yeah, so you're off kilter. You're on a call. Like,
you're on an interview.
I think the best way to think about it is if you were on FaceTime with your grandmother and she's not very tech savvy, you're going to be like, hi, how you doing? Making sure you're in the frame so she could see you. And then when they go off, you're like, turn the phone, grandma, please turn the phone. Think about that. Like, just focus. Be in the moment.
No, that's a great way to think about it.
Yeah. But don't call them grandma. Please, God, don't do that. Don't do that.
So is there anything else interview-wise that came to mind? Because you've touched on a lot of things that I'm becoming more aware of being involved in that process. And I never really appreciate it as much because when I'm going through interviews myself, I'm going through one or two, but the people who are on the receiving end, they're going through maybe even dozens of and back to back. So they really pick up on these nuances, right?
They do. Subconsciously, we do. I think there were periods in time where certain projects had really ramped up. You could be doing 10 interviews a week. And there is a point that you're like, I really don't want to do this anymore.
Well, it's also hard to get work done if you're having to do that many interviews.
It is part of the job. Soups and leads, God bless, I don't know how they do it, but they make it work. So I think at the end of the day, everyone's human. So don't scream, don't shout, don't throw your arms in the air, but be engaging by showing that you are engaged. Because if you look to the side or your voices, unless you have a really
I feel like I need to apologize for looking because I'm always tracking. We're on a podcast.
I'm not interviewing you, am I?
Eyes are darting around a little bit because I'm being mindful of the time and audio levels and whatnot. But
yes, I got it.
Thanks for watching this week's Animators Journey podcast episode. It's been a few months since I put one out, so let me know in a review or comment that you enjoy listening and watching this podcast, and I'll try to keep putting out the episodes. My life is getting busier by the day, and so I don't often have a ton of time to put these episodes together. So your feedback means a lot, that you actually enjoy listening to this, and it's encouraging to hear that I should keep making them or not. So give me a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to the podcast. And hopefully I will see you in the next Animators Journey podcast episode. And as always, check out animatorsjourney.com where you can get my help on your journey to becoming a 3D animator. Thanks for listening.
One trick, and I spoke to someone recently about this, is that I feel the younger generation don't want to do this because they can feel like it's like a stalkering vibes. When you get given the panel of people that you are going to be interviewing with, oh my God, research them. Don't say what their wife's name is. Go on their LinkedIn. Because the beautiful thing about LinkedIn is they will tell them, hey, Lucas has been spying on you. He was looking at your profile. Right? They will get that notification, know that they're interviewing you in a few days or the next day or this afternoon and go, oh, they're doing their research. It's a little, I call it a diamond tip because they know you are preparing.
Right.
And you're not just going to rock up. Find something in common. One of my favorite things to do is I had an interview with someone. I don't know if it was a good thing or not because I didn't get the job. But what they loved is that they were coming up to their 20th working anniversary this year. And what I asked them was, how are you guys celebrating? And she was taken aback going, we're having a big summer party. That's huge. 20 years in the business. Congrats. And actually, we had a really nice conversation and we still stay in touch. But those kind of things, you don't have to know their dog's name on Instagram. But use LinkedIn because it will tell them.
That's smart.
It will tell them that you're looking.
Whenever a recruiter tells me who I'm, sometimes they don't tell you.
Sometimes they don't, correct.
But when they do, it's, that's a golden nugget of information. Thank you. Now I'll know and be prepared and I'm not caught off guard. And,
Don't hide away just because you've connected with them on LinkedIn. I get hundreds of connections on LinkedIn every day, right? Use it. Connect, because just if they have your name in their head before they meet you, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Trust me, because I can list people who are at ILM right now that I didn't make the sole decision, obviously, but for me, myself, they had researched into me beforehand. And so I remember sitting in the interview with them and I'd already was excited to talk to them. And eventually they got hired for not just that reason, but many other reasons. And it's just another little thing you can do.
You brought up a good point, and I think it's something I've struggled with. And it goes back to the research thing, because there's always an opportunity in interviews to ask questions. And you had an amazing one in your example, because it hit a bunch of different things. That would tell you a lot about the culture of how they responded to that. It shows that you did your research. It was that was such a good question. Are there any suggestions or examples of good questions you've heard?
I have lists of good ones you do ask and ones you don't ask.
Okay.
I think out the gate, if it's your first interview with them, don't ask about the contract length, because typically I've been in interviews where the other people on the panel don't know that. That's only information I would know. Don't ask about salary. As much as you want to, the recruiter has that down. They know that information. They will give you that later on. Don't ask about money. Don't ask about contract lengths. Don't ask about visas, because they have those things in place for later on. They're not taboo subjects. Just right now.
Don't take up the time. Use your time wisely.
Other people have the information that you will get anyway.
Yeah.
Relocation might come up because that's a big topic right now, hybrid and remote and stuff. If it is something you are worried about, definitely bring it up. Be like, because if you're getting a good vibe saying, I think this is going really well, but they only want me for 3 days in the office and I can really only do 2, you can bring it up or talk to the recruiter. Those kind of contract questions go through the recruiter. You don't want to leave a bad taste in their mouth. I think don't ask the standard question of what the project is, because 9 times out of 10, they can't tell you.
Yeah.
As exciting
and
as it could
probably
be.
already, if they could. By the time you're asking questions, you would have already known. Yeah.
Exactly. So don't ask that question, because it's not going to piss them off. It's just, we can't tell, I think the good questions to ask is, depending on who's interviewing you, but what is their dream project? Like any project that's ever been done or yet to come that they want to be a part of or wish they had been a part of. Because all these types of questions, they hear all the time. But the ones that take down the barriers of this is an interview and you are just having a conversation with a human one-on-one.
Yeah.
Like when it's, I have a dog too. What dog is you? And it's that little connection with a human on the other end of the phone or the call or whatever. It takes away the seriousness of the tone, because the contract questions come later. So asking questions like, what is any project, come or been or whatever that you would have loved to be a part of? I mean, typically they say Jurassic Park or Back to the Future, just to be like, I wish I was a part of that. That would be really cool, because then they get thinking. And normally interviewers don't really do that much thinking in interviews, do they?
Yeah.
You don't really have to really dig in your brain.
For themselves, yeah.
For themselves, so those kind of questions, you can ask what's been the biggest challenge, I think right now with everything going on, what's been the biggest challenge to the team in the last 2 years? Whether if it's a small company, what's the biggest hurdle? What thing is you really battling right now? Because then it's like you don't just want to come in, do the work, get a check and leave. You want to know about the company. Yeah. Those are things.
I like that's one of my favorites, because I want to know, because it gives you an opportunity as a candidate to go through your Rolodex of experience to know, based on what they just told you, now I can pick a specific example of me addressing that concern.
Exactly, because they will ask you what's like the biggest issue, and it's normally, oh, the client changed this, or we lost the team and we had to this change or whatnot. But when it's from them and you're jumping off the back of it, it's great. And I think just those kind of questions that are away from the job are going to make you stand out a bit more. I had an interview literally on Thursday, second interview, and they had given me a little pre-task of what would your first 100 days look like? Bearing in mind, I'm not on the creative side of it. I'm more behind the scenes support role. But they were like, what's your first 100 days? Obviously, I did my presentation. And then when the question time came, I said, have you got any questions? I went, yeah. What would your first 100 days be? And they went, ah! And I was like a little proud moment of myself. I was like, oh, Ada, it's a good question. Because they were like, that's a good question. And they were like, oh, what would I do in this role in the first 100 days?
Yeah.
And it's just started a really natural conversation. So keep it away from the job itself and just as a general, their thoughts and dream clients, dream directors. What is the worst show they've ever done? There have been moments where it's been certain feline themed. So just make that human connection away from the job and you'll do fine.
That's great advice. I'm sensitive to the time. We've gone over the amount.
It's okay.
And this has been super insightful for me specifically. I've been very selfish in terms of some of these questions. And I'm like, oh, this pertains to me and exactly some of this. So
I could talk about this stuff for hours. It's exciting stuff. So exciting, really.
Where best, you mentioned LinkedIn. Is that somewhere where people listening could reach out to you or just see your updates for stuff like this?
100%. And I've just started, I live up in Norfolk, and I realized there were little groups for like different types of artists around the area. Just started up a little community called Norfolk VFX. Really imaginative name, clearly. But we got our first event in June, so if anyone's, I think just reach out. LinkedIn, hit me up, 100%.
Great.
I have a website. I have everything. Just, I'm always willing to chat. I don't always have the time.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I appreciate your time tonight.
That's okay.
Thanks so much for sharing all your experience and best of luck on everything coming your way.
You too.
Awesome. All right. Thanks.
Thanks for watching this week's Animators Journey podcast episode. It's been a few months since I put one out, so let me know in a review or comment that you enjoy listening and watching this podcast, and I'll try to keep putting out the episodes. I don't often have a ton of time to put these episodes together, so your feedback means a lot, that you actually enjoy listening to this, and it's encouraging to hear that I should keep making them or not. So give me a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to the podcast, and hopefully I will see you in the next Animators Journey podcast episode. And as always, check out animatorsjourney.com, where you can get my help on your journey to becoming a 3D animator. Thanks for listening.